Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone this morning. We will have our and I call this meeting to order. Let's have our roll call, please. Mr. Hammond has requested to be excused. Do we have a motion to do that?
I so moved.
Second.
All right. Okay, now we will now stand and I will have our indication and pledge, please.
Let us pray. Dear Father, we thank you that we are able to come out and gather and talk over the business of your people. We pray that you will endow us with wisdom and understanding of the issues that we might make a fair and right decision. Be with each member present here today. We thank you for allowing us to come out and the safety that we got here, and we pray that we will be safe going home. And it's in your holy name that we ask and pray for these many blessings. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Attorney, I believe it's your show.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, we're going to elect your positions for chairman and vice chairman. And with that, unless there's any request for me to review the procedures, we'll move right in and I'll open the nominations for the seat of chair. And actually, before we begin, if Ms. Ward, will you confirm on your excusal of Mr. Hammond?
I'm sorry.
And then
Thank
we'll
you.
have that clear to move forward. And I'll open the floor for nominations for the position of chair.
Madam Parliamentary Procedure, I nominate Ms. Ward.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. And there being only one, we can go ahead and vote anyway for Ms. Ward. Okay, congratulations to Ms. Ward. We'll now move to the position of vice chair. I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Madam Parliamentarian, I would nominate Jimmy Garris.
Okay, are there any further nominations? Hearing none, we'll close nominations and vote on the position of Jimmy Garris for vice chair. Okay, and with those having been completed, I congratulate Ms. Ward and Mr. Garris, and we'll turn the meeting over to both of you. Want to take a brief recess?
Yeah, we're going to have a short break now, and
We'll take a brief
Trade
recess
seats.
to move our seats around.
thank you for being patient with our short break, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the board for the support of that they're going to give me the rest of this year as far as serving as chair, and I look forward to it, and I feel very humbled. I will accept an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Let's vote. Okay, we have one public hearing. Mr. Rhodes, I think you are up.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. This morning, after a year and a half of pulling together new information and having a couple of series of public forums, the planning board and the planning staff are pleased to present to you our updated comprehensive land use plan. As you know, each time we go through a rezoning up here, we always refer to the land use plan. And what's required by general statute now for our planning board is that they have to provide to you before any considerations are made that, in fact, that rezoning request, if they're looking at it favorably, that it also meshes with our land use plan. So it's a very valuable tool. We've had a land use plan in place here in Pitt County since 1991. We had an update in 2002. And you'll remember that was the basis for our countywide zoning that went in place in 2003. So again, what we're looking at this morning is an update to the existing plan. Fortunately, when we went out to look at things, we got favorable comments as to how the plan was in place already, so we made some refinements and a few changes to the map, and hopefully you will agree with those this morning. And again, this plan, the horizon we're looking at is about 20 years, and typically we go through about every 10 years and do a full-fledged update, and that's what you're seeing this morning. The map in front of you now on the screen should be very familiar to you. This is one we've been using over the last close to 10 years. And you won't see a lot of changes from a distance when we show you the proposed land use map. So again, we're changing both text and we'll be changing the map today as part of this proposed update to the plan. What are some of the reasons we went through this update process? A lot of things have happened over the last 10 years. Countywide zoning, new floodplain maps, new hazard mitigation plans, some updates with our transportation system, and I'll stress a little bit later in the presentation, a whole new section concerning community health. Our goals and objectives. We have one primary purpose, and not surprisingly, you hear this a lot when we're up here talking about rezonings and other issues. Basically, is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and basically doing that through reasonable and orderly and efficient growth. So we're also trying to take into account these sensitive areas throughout the county. We have 9 chapters, we'll call them, or sections in the ordinance. This is an increase by 1 since the 2002 version, and again, number 8, community health, is a brand new section in the ordinance. You should have received a copy of this. This is the official draft version. It's also on our website, and a lot of information in here. The bulk of the document is an appendix, which has the background information, so the valuable information up front that you'll be using for rezonings and other things is right at the very beginning of the document. So, the 9 chapters we'll go through fairly quickly. 1, growth and development. Manage physical growth and development and preserve and protect the county's physical character and assets. So these are the major goals I'll be running through, and just some examples that go along with each one of these. We're trying to encourage growth in appropriate areas, typically in areas out in the county where there's suitable soils for septic systems. And we're also trying to work with the municipalities to ensure our growth meshes with the two. Land use, promote an orderly and efficient land use development pattern. And not surprisingly, this comes down to the administration of the zoning ordinance, and when we bring amendments before you, whether you believe that that's part of ensuring that we're providing an orderly and efficient land use pattern. Number 3, transportation. Provide a transportation system which will allow for the safe, efficient, and convenient movement of peoples and goods. A lot of things here have come to light, and we've got new activities, a new corridor, for example, for the Southwest Bypass. We show that on the new land use plan, and not only do we need to take that into account, but there are a lot of organizations that we need to coordinate with, such as the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, and the Rural Planning Organization. One item that we also mention in here, which is a new term, is the idea or concept of complete streets, and we want to work with DOT to ensure that we enact a policy to put complete streets in new developments and in new transportation facilities when they're installed. Appearance, maintain and enhance the character and identity of the rural areas of Pitt County, and this can be everything from signage to possible issues with mobile homes and ensuring that we have those underpinned. So there's a long list of different objectives or different implementation strategies that go along with this goal. Community services and facilities, and this is to provide efficient and high quality public services and facilities to serve planned growth and development. One in particular, and I think we are already finding some movement in this direction, is that the county and staff need to be more involved with possible siting of schools, whether public facilities are there or we're ensuring that we're siting schools in areas within the attendance areas that they're to serve. Natural environment, protect water quality, significant natural features, and other natural resources. Not surprisingly, one of the major issues we have to deal with in our county, about a quarter of our land area is within the 100-year floodplain. We want to ensure that we maintain our floodplain maps and ensure that we look at those areas that are developed in floodplains through the development review process and ensure that they're built appropriately. Housing, promote a range of safe and affordable housing. In this particular case, we certainly want to continue our efforts to ensure that the housing meets all health and safety codes. The next one, as I've mentioned, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about community health. What we have here is a section that is brand new to our land use plan. What was instrumental in this, you may recall that our Public Health Director, Dr. Morrow, has been to talk with you about certain initiatives through the communities putting Prevention to Work grant. And Pitt County was one of the 50 local governments throughout the country to actually receive funding. And through that, there are several items that we're trying to promote here locally in Pitt County. Ensuring land use patterns that benefit public health, improving access to healthy foods, and improving access to recreational facilities. So we poured that all into one chapter in our new land use plan update, and we have 4 different areas dealing with parks and recreation, and that's to ensure that we have an equitable distribution of recreation facilities throughout the county. One idea that's already in place here is our joint use or shared use of facilities with the Board of Education. That ensures that all the school sites are used for recreational facilities. Access to healthy foods, encourage such things as community gardens, and you'll hear a report on that a little bit later this morning. Access to alternative modes of transportation, and this is to encourage such things as more bike and ped travel. And lastly, complete neighborhoods, and this is just to encourage land use policies to encourage passive open space, maybe an agricultural land use preservation program, and you'll probably hear more about that through the Soil and Water Office later this year. And these are just some examples with this particular section. What we have, everything that you see here is from the farmer's market to the community garden to complete streets down on the bottom right. Just a lot of ideas of bringing community health here to Pitt County. And finally, this whole plan and policy doesn't amount to much unless we have some way of implementing it. And this is where you come involved, our citizenry, planning board, planning staff, and everyone to ensure that this is implemented and administered appropriately. And there are a number of sections in that chapter to mention how that's to be accomplished. So those are the text changes and updates for our land use plan. The map component is typically the thing that most folks look at first in dealing with a land use plan. So I wanted to go through a few changes with it. There are several categories that we have in our current land use plan. We've changed a few as far as their designations and also added one. This is our new land use plan, or I should say this is our current one. Our new one has one other category. We've actually separated out the rural, commercial, and commercial crossroad communities, and I'll give you some examples of those a little bit later. New map. One thing in particular that you should see on here is the dotted red line that runs from the western part of Greenville down to Ayden. That is the southwest bypass. Since that corridor has been protected now by the Department of Transportation, we want to ensure that we show that on the maps. In turn, there's also some changes that are associated with that new line on the map. an extension of commercial activities along US 13 or Dixon Avenue Extended up to the interchange that's proposed at that location of Southwest Bypass and Dixon Avenue Extension. We've also refined some areas of suburban residential, which are areas that we feel like will rapidly grow within the next 10 to 20 years, and kind of use the Southwest Bypass corridor as a defining area of where to stop that. So we've brought it in a tad since the previous version. US 264 East, you may recall we've had a number of rezonings along that area over the last 10 years. What you see here at the top of the map is the current land use plan designation. On the bottom is the proposed new. A lot of new commercial here on US 264 heading east out of Greenville. That's shown in red. Also another spot here at the intersection of NC 30 and 264 East. Other designations, heavy commercial here at the intersection of Shepherd Mill Road and 264 East, and also some crossroad areas. The crossroad communities, again, have been redefined. In some cases, we've actually added some commercial areas. For example, where the Country Mart is located on NC 11 North, that's now designated as commercial on our land use plan map, as well as the area just south of the ETJ of Bethel at the intersection of NC 30 and NC 11 North. Also looked at the area here at the interchange of Martin Luther King Boulevard and NC 33 West. That is a commercial node as well at that interchange. And Belvoir, a community, again, when we did our northwest planning area map back in 2001, that area was rather large. We've refined it now, and this is the commercial crossroad area that we've come up with that really shows the limits of the type of development commercially there at the crossroads. Other areas too, you may recall we've had a number of rezonings along NC 43 South. What you see here on the map now is an area that basically designates that as commercial. We've also redefined some crossroad areas to more align with the type of development pattern we're seeing there, and some rezonings that have taken place. For example, at Hollywood's Crossroads at Worthington Road and NC 43 South, we've had some rezonings over the last several years. The orange area shows the new designation versus the hatched area or the dashed line that shows the old line that designated that crossroad. Similarly, at Worthington's Crossroad, Eastern Pines, you may recall we had a rezoning there that pretty much was a prime example of how we need to make more concise these commercial crossroads to ensure that the commercial element is kept right at the crossroad proper. We also have rural commercial areas, and these are some of the smaller crossroad areas. Roundtree has a new designation. Gardnerville has been changed just a tad, and we kept these same delineations at Ballard's Crossroads and Venters, but have changed them from a crossroad community over to rural commercial. In reviewing all this information, both the text and the maps, we had two series of public forums. This has been through a 1.5-year process. We had first set of forums back earlier this year, and then we had our second set starting in the fall in September, running on through October at 5 different locations around the county. Somewhat sparsely attended. We did get some good comments, and I will tell you we gathered probably more comments through our website and a survey that we had there. And that did help us as we started to develop more language and change to the map. We incorporate a lot of that information. One in particular, we had a forum at Belle Arthur, and we had the mayor of Farmville to come out, and he and his staff had suggested that we change the map back to the way it was in 2002 for some areas around the town of Farmville, because they had some proposed extensions for water and sewer. So that was done. Our planning board agreed with that, changed the map back to the way it was in 2002. And again, we took all our maps with us to these locations to make sure folks knew what we were moving towards. To culminate this whole process, we took this draft plan back to our planning board on October the 19th. They reviewed it and have unanimously recommended approval of this plan. Staff is also, again, for the bulk of the document, have worked on this in-house, handled the mapping in-house. We did get some assistance with the community health section, however. And we are also recommending approval of this today. So with that, Madam Chairwoman, we would like to open up the public hearing.
I declare the public hearing open, and we have some people signed up, I think. But before we go further, would you like to share those two things?
Sure.
There are two things that need to be kind of tweaked or adjusted. I think if you'll just, so that
Sure.
we'll be aware of those before we start talking about it.
Had the opportunity to read the document. I think the planning staff did a yeoman's job on this, an excellent update to the county's comprehensive plan. As a former planner, and everything's really in line here. There are two things. One is actually a good news designation that we can update in this document, that being that for the third time, we've got document references, second time that we've been designated for 100 best communities for young people, but I think that's because probably designation came after we'd written this document. The other thing is, that was on page 2-18. On page 2-10, we might want to clarify that we run a state-of-the-art transfer station. Right now we say it's a landfill, but just wanted to clarify those 2 points. But otherwise, the document's an excellent document. I think staff has done a tremendous job on it.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the people who have signed up. Ms. Whitley, did you sign up for this? Yes. Okay. We weren't sure whether it was just a public hearing. If you want to come forward.
Good morning. It's nice to see y'all again. My name is Donna Whitley. I was born here and grew up here. I went away for about a decade and decided that this was a great place to live, and I returned here to raise my family. I would like my children, who are now grown and exploring the world, to return also to raise their families. I think it's very important to have long-term planning that creates a good quality of life so our children will want to come back and raise their children. I'm here to support the long-term comprehensive plan. I think these ideas are good for business, for citizens, and for the city and the county. I would like to tell you the story of my personal experience living in a planned community. In 1950, my father purchased the third lot from Hoover Taft off of Elm Street. At that time, he used to go hunting, quail hunting, with his friend Mitchell. There was no Elmhurst School. There was just a few lots divided up. But with Mr. Rivers, I've been told that Mr. Rivers was very much responsible working this out, planning this community. It had a median down the middle with trees, 4 lanes, a sidewalk, and then when you came, remember when Greenville ended at Elm Street and 10th? Those of y'all who've lived here remember that. So when you crossed Elm Street at 10th, this was a new development. He had purchased 3 farms. When you come there with those sidewalks, median and trees, and 4 lanes, the first thing on your left is what? It's Elm Street Park, right? Then you come up the hill. On the right was J.H. Rose, where I graduated. On your left was the Baptist Church. Behind that nestled the residential area of Brook Green. The next place was the Presbyterian Church. You cross 14th, you know where I am? Cross the railroad track. On the right was Elmhurst School with all that acreage of open space. On your left was Inglewood. On the right was where I grew up in Elmhurst. And right behind it, a few years later, they developed Forest Hill, which is where I live today. It ended at what today is Greenville Boulevard, but at that time was a little dirt road that meandered to Winterville, where we went on Sundays to visit my mother's people. So I grew up in a classic textbook planned community. What did that mean? Well, one, I could get on my bike and go to down to the park and watch my cousins play ball at the Little League. I could go into the creek and do sharks. In other words, it was a wonderful, safe place. You walk to school, and I think that you were healthier because of that. You were walking and enjoying a certain quality of life. Now, this is not a dream. I just went to Finland last summer, and I discovered the Finns have been doing this since World War II, designing their communities as they grow so that everybody can walk to work, and they can walk to school, or they can bike. Biking is very, very important. Why is this important? It's good for our health. We have a childhood obesity problem. Walking and biking will improve our health. Number two, we will reduce our obsession with oil. If we reduce our gasoline consumption, we will be not under such the tyranny of the Arab oil-producing countries. That could only help us. And number three, this wonderful thing called quality of life, parks and trees that reduce our stress, and we know that stress also hurts our health. So there are multiple issues where I think this is important. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And who else do we have signed up?
We have Dr. John Morrow, the County Public Health Director.
I couldn't find-
Good morning, Commissioners. I won't take but a minute of your time. I just want to tell you what exciting this is for us in public health. As James mentioned, the Communities Putting Prevention at Work grant has really gone hand in hand with this project. We're just very excited with the health potential of this, and I see this really as a job creator for Pitt County. We have engineered physical activity out of our lives, unfortunately. I don't think anybody did it on purpose, but we've done it. And as the last speaker just mentioned, the childhood obesity epidemic we're dealing with, and I've talked to y'all several times about that, but I think this is really an opportunity. The young people of today are looking for healthy places to live. The employers of today are looking for healthy places for their employees to be and lower their health care costs, which continue to go up at such a dramatic rate. So we're just very excited with this opportunity. I think this is really a great step in making Pitt County a magnet for jobs and a place of one of the healthiest counties, not only in the state, but potentially in the country. So I just applaud your efforts with passing this land use plan. I think it's great for our citizens in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrow. Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
got one very important sentence.
If you would like to come forward, one sentence now, Donna.
She can't do that.
No, and I know she can't.
I can do it. I can do it. The one sentence is that by living in a planned community that was 61 years ago, the citizens are happy because the value of our property has maintained itself very highly. People want to live in Forest Hill and Elmhurst, okay? Number two, the lawyers, that was, number two, it was
I think she has a ditto
comma.
answer. Yeah.
The realtors,
A colon.
the lawyers, the people who do carpet and paint, we contribute to the small business. They're happy. And number three, the city and county governments are happy because our tax base is so strong and maintained itself. So it's good for business as well as for quality of life. Thank you.
You're welcome. A long sentence. I think she said a colon and then, yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and speak on the land use? Great, thank you. If you'll just give us your name and where you live, that would be wonderful. Thanks.
How y'all doing?
Hello.
I'm Moses Teal from Greenville. Live on Old River Road. I like to address the board with numbers. Mr. James Rowe have you to think that the public is behind it. But I went to several of those meetings. He only have 5, 6, 10 people. He comes here, he said, the majority of people with him. What are the numbers? What are the numbers? Now, land use is fine, but I feel like people in the rural area, low-income people, should be heard too. And I'll never see them as being included when we come to these meetings. You look out here, where are the low-income people? people that can't afford the parks, the recreation, and the walks. He speaks about the county. I've never see any money spent towards making our community better. But yet you get money from our votes and our numbers, but we don't see you spending in our community. James, planning have too much power. When we go get permits, try to explain what we're gonna do, it's over our head. A lot of people rather not even come because of the red tape they have to go through. I speak to a lot of developers. They said they hate to go to the planning because it's too hard to get past them. And you got a lot of rules and stuff, and I feel like y'all should table this and do more effort in letting the community know. Get some numbers, 50%, 6%, 7%. Get some numbers and compare that whether the majority of our staff is behind us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir, if you'll come forward and identify yourself.
Good morning. My name is Harry Teal. Owns a business out on River Road. You've seen me before. The lady talking about the planning her father owned land down on Elm Street. This incident happened on 33. It really happened when you rezone the county. Mr. James was behind it. Dad and I and my brother came up here. If you're going to rezone it, zone the whole county. But they did just the northwest side. I had a piece of property over there and wanted to go ahead and put a used car lot up there. I had to come back here 3 times to get it rezoned. Now, since Mr. Rowe, I should say, come up developing and all, and zone the whole county, now they're going out to Belleville. Okay, the property I got out there, luckily we own it and own adjacent property. Okay, we went to Mr. Edgar Warren and bought 4 different times, bought 4 different parcels. First, second, third, and fourth. When I bought the 4th one, they kind of went ahead and took the other 3 acres and added to 1 parcel. So now we got 1 parcel. But I got 4 maps for each parcel. Now, if I deceased and my children decide to sell it, what red tape they have to go to sell it? Now we had 3 permit for separate tank and 4 different maps. But now I don't have but 2 maps and 2 pieces of property. 1 commercial and the other's all resident. So we got 3 acres added to another 2 acres. How is that going to help the consumer? Now each and other one you're up here, we put y'all in here to speak for us. Y'all cannot run this county behind the desk. Evidently Mr. Rowe here, he does a good job, I think, and so it feels. He go out and do all the legwork. Now when y'all decided to get voted in, you went from door to door and asked these people to vote for me. We chose to go. Give Mr. James credit. He's causing me to get over there. He went door to door and asked these people, have you resent Mr. Teal for coming over here? 1 person resented. Mr. James said, hey, we're going to do it. But if he hadn't went, what would have happened? I would have went broke to get it done. I went all the way to D.C. because I was in hardship. So I'm asking you, try to go out and investigate the people. Ask the folks. Go to the community. Say, now, we planning this right here. Like my brother saying, go to the door to ask these people. Now, how about the Hispanic? They doing most of our building and farming. What about them? Justice for all, we said. So my thing is, before you go ahead and make a decision, do some investigating. The majority rules. I was here the other time talking about guns and training for a safety of schools and all. Now look how many killings we got. If Mr. Sheriff Phelps would go to the detection center and ask these people, would you do it? No. They either high or for anger. And if you ask them now to disassemble this gun here, this weapon, clean it and put it back together. If you put it around in the chamber, how can you disarm it? And they wouldn't know how to do it. So all I'm asking, teach some safety. Now y'all is in the driver's seat now, but sooner or later, you're going to have to go by the rule that you put out here. Now I'm going to ask you another question. Each one of you, Mr. James, you're the oldest rock in the barn. Have you trained anyone to take your place?
Not a soul.
Mr. Owen. Now sooner or later, you're going to have to get in the back seat. The children today are going to be the leaders tomorrow. That don't sit back here and let the good old boy just feather your nest and take care of your people around you. Look at the whole community. I rest my case.
Thank you. Anyone else that failed to sign up? Yes, if you'll come forward, please, and identify yourself.
Good morning. Stephen Hardy Braz from Farmville. As a recent graduate of the Pitt County Citizens Academy, which was a great learning opportunity and experience, I appreciate what Mr. Rose has gone through in this planning process, and I appreciate the wisdom that it takes to look at this and be careful and judge wisely what's good for everyone in our county. And I appreciate all the work that goes into this and what your reading and contemplation about it is. I'd just like to bring up a couple of points, though. As an avid cyclist in the area, my bicycle is not my alternative transportation, it's my primary transportation. But for me, that's out of choice. For people living in some of the farther reaches of Pitt County, it is not a choice. It is their only transportation. And when we look at individuals that are riding from Bethel into Greenville for employment, by the hospital, when we have killings on the road because of unsafe engineering, unsafe education practices, there's a lot we can do with this document to move transportation of choice or of primary transportation to be safe for everyone. Now, I can't bring you down memory lane like Ms. Whitley can, but I can talk about the last 12 years of riding around here. Things have improved a great deal, and I know that Greenville is doing a lot, but I know that together in Pitt County, we can do a lot more together. And I look forward to working with you to make this a great place to bike, walk, run, etc. We have some natural beauty here in eastern North Carolina. Our rivers, our streams, our fields, our nature. Let's just enjoy it. Thank you very much for your consideration, including transportation of choice for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. If you'll come forward and identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Jill Twork, and I'd just like to speak briefly, supporting what Steve just said. I would like to encourage you to work on connectivity between the cities of Pitt County so that people can ride their bicycles from one town to another, not just for recreational purposes, but also to get to work. And I also moved here from outside, and I was very unhappy when I moved here because there were almost no bicycle lanes, and certainly the South Tar River Greenway did not exist. And I must say that I'm liking living in Greenville a whole lot better now. I've been here 9 years, and I'm so grateful that we have this greenway, and it's going to be extended out to the hospital in the next couple of years. And I'd like to encourage you to keep working on behalf of connectivity of greenways within Greenville and also to the other cities in Pitt County. Thank you.
Thank you. Going once, twice. Anybody else? Okay, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Manager? The commissioners, would you like to discuss or speak to anything? Okay, Mr. McGlone and then Mr. James.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say that and this is in keeping with what Mr. Teal, both Mr. Teals talked about, north of the river. I serve on the focus group north of the river, and we meet quite often. And Mr. Teal, you probably is aware of that. One of the concerns that came out of that, Madam Chair, is that I'd like to see a detailed, and this is probably addressed to James Rowe, a detailed area plan as it relates to the future growth and development north of the river. As stated, a quarter of Pitt County is located north of the river, so there's a concern of some of the residents as to what are the future plans. And some of the things that came up was that, with these planning in place correctly, there may be opportunities for grocery stores, more shopping areas, and more businesses located over there. I understand there's a sheet store presently being built over that way. So there's some great concern about having some activities north of the river. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. James?
Yes, I have several questions, comments, maybe I should say. Probably there's not many people in Pitt County, as old as I am, who have spent their entire life in Pitt County. So I know the changes that have taken place. There are several concerns that I have. Number one, I think there need to be more people involved in making the decisions. It's good to have bicycle paths and all of these things, but I'm out in the rural areas, and I'm not concerned about you people in Greenville riding a bicycle, not one bit. None of them out there are. Let's face it. You are concerned. Your views on planning and my views on planning are entirely different. James would tell you that I'm the guy that pushed for planning and zoning in Pitt County. And I was just about crucified. Believe me, I was. But I did what I thought was right. But at the same time, we need to consult local people much more. Now remember, the county of Pitt has nothing to do with the development and the planning in any city in Pitt County. They've got their own planning departments. They do their own thing, and we have no say. And I've been to the planning board, and I know we have no say. Believe me, I do. All right. We need to cooperate together first more than what we are. I own land, and I don't like for somebody to come out there and tell me what to do with my land because they don't pay taxes on it. I'm the guy that pays the taxes on it. I'm the guy that has to keep it up, and I want it to be good land. I want it to be good for Pitt County, and most landowners feel that way. I guess the main thing that I'm concerned, and I've got several questions here that I would like to ask. James, primarily you. When I got this information in the package this last week, and I was looking at it, and I got all these books, and I said, my goodness, I thought Pitt County was kind of slow back on money, that our appraisers was about 5 to 10% less. It means we're going to be getting less tax money in 212. It means we're going to be in trouble for a lot of schools and so forth. How much did we spend on this manpower? And I know you can't tell me, James, but I'd like to have this information later on.
I'd like to at least respond to your paper copy. You've got one of 20 that was made. Again, all this was made available out on the website. We did take some materials with us when we went to the forums, but we have limited any paper consumption, I can tell you.
James, I support planning and zoning, you know that. But at the same time, there's a stopping point that you can afford or what you can't afford to take and to do. All right, the next thing that I wrote down here, you didn't answer my questions. I want to know the money. We'll get to that later on. Also, you said in that Southwest bypass, you're telling me something that I don't know anything about. I've been pushing the Southwest bypass for 25 years. We're no closer to it right now as far as I am concerned that we were 25 years ago. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong, too. There is a corridor that has been established, and it is now being protected by DOT, so it is on the map.
I think you need to get those maps out and maybe you all in here know more about that map than I do. I have never seen one. So I'm in the dark here. So I'd like to kind of see where that core and where I know it's supposed to come out up there on the other side of Aden and all of this other stuff. But certainly, I'd like to know at the same time that Dr. Johnson has been pushing the bridge that goes across Tar River down by Simpson. How is that going to tie in on this planning as we go that way to hit Highway 264? I didn't hear you say anything about that either. But also Pitt County schools, we are really blessed in Pitt County. I mean, we really are. I go to other counties and I'm so thankful that we have the schools that we have, and I'm hoping that we don't have to keep spending money. That money can be used for other ways now, for other things that we're in need of. And but I think, James, what you have to worry about is people like Harry Till and Moses Till and all of us. We live in the rural area. And we're concerned, we want to cooperate, but we don't want to be dictated to tell us whatever we can do And the complaint that I get more than anything else on the planning department, the environmental people, is that I have to make so many trips over there to take and to get a permit to do certain things. And a lot of times they have to come, if they're even a builder, if he's coming to build a house, he might have to pay 4 or 5 different kinds of, buy 'em now, James, permits. See, we need to be looking at things such as that. Just giving you as an example, if I have a mobile home, I got a septic tank. It don't matter if that septic tank has been inspected. If before it's going to be, if they live there 1 month, they moved and it's got to come back and be inspected again. Totally unnecessary. And that's the county law, or state law. I've said enough. I'll stop
Thank you,
right there.
Thank you, Mr.
And
James.
I'm not talking about one sentence. I'm not going to do like Donna. I'm not going to make 3 or 4.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I think Mr. Rhodes indicated that this comprehensive land use plan update is not perfect. It's a plan in process, and we need to keep in mind that changes will need to be made as we go along, and hopefully, if we make these changes as we go along, we will provide for the needs of the citizens of Pitt County. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Webb.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. James, I'm going to have a question for you, so if you want to come up. And this is just, it's going to be a little easier than the last one. But I was very pleased to see that health is now a part of this plan. Could you tell the people what we are nationally #1 in? Per the presentation we saw the other day.
Dr. Morrow does this a lot better than I do, but we are here in Greenville, North Carolina, #1 in fast food consumption, and that has brought on a number of issues here with community health.
Absolutely, and I think that's why it's such a good thing that this is now being addressed in our land use plan. But one of my largest concerns with reading it, I think it was in A26 of the draft, was the food desert, especially as it exists north of the river, and that the only grocery store north of the river is actually in the city of Greenville. So for our less fortunate and economically disadvantaged people, should you live far north of the river and you have to pay $3.29 a gallon just to drive into Greenville to get your groceries, we're looking at severe health choice problems that we need to address, and we need to have a strategy for one way or another to ensure that the health of everybody in Pitt County is at least afforded an opportunity to make the right choices. And I think this goes in the correct direction. And I think if people would check out the 3450.com, it's 3FOUR50.com. It discusses the 3 behaviors, which are poor diet, physical inactivity, and what was the other? Oh, tobacco. And then and it causes 4 diseases: cancer, coronary heart disease, pulmonary disease, diabetes, and it causes over 50% of deaths. And I think it's something we really need to look at here. We need to have proactive strategies, and I'm glad the land use plan is at least starting us in that direction. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Before I recognize Commissioner Garris, Mr. Rhodes, how many public hearings did we have prior to this presentation to us, and tell us where they were held real quick, or some of them?
We had one public hearing at the planning board level here, but we had 9 public forums scattered throughout the county in different rural areas such as Belvoir, Chicot, or Stokes.
Okay. I thought knew that it was 9, but I wanted to hear. Now, Commissioner Garris.
Madam Chairman, as it has already been stated, this isn't a perfect plan, but it is a good plan. I think it is something that we can work with. I think it is very inclusive of several aspects that we need to be improving upon. As far as the public input is concerned, I don't understand the concern that has been expressed about the public input when we have 9 hearings scattered conveniently throughout our county, and people did not attend. But I think that opportunity was granted them. So again, even though it isn't a perfect plan, I think it's a good plan, it's a workable plan, something that we can work with, use as a guideline, and alter it in the future as we see fit. Therefore, Madam Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we approve the plan.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? There's a second by Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
If we will vote.
May I make one comment? Commissioner Garris, the reason that you have so low attendance is very simple. If I go, it ain't gonna make a bag of beans because they're not gonna listen at me anyway. Now, I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
Thank you for your opinion.
It's the truth, too. Go out in the rural areas.
All right, it's passed. We'll move forward to our next item on our agenda, which is the comprehensive annual financial report. Our finance officer, Melanie Bryant.
Good morning. In your agenda packages, you should have gotten a document that looks like this, which is the county's annual financial statements, as well as a blue-bound document, which are our compliance letters, which refer to grants and federal and state funding that we receive. This morning, Brian Starnes with the firm Martin Starnes, which is the county's external auditor, is here to present the results of our audit for the year ended June 30, 2011.
Welcome, Mr. Starnes.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Bryan. I will move through the slides and get you up to date on the results of the audit. First of all, it was an unqualified opinion, and we're always glad to report that. Unqualified opinion in layman's terms is what you would call a clean opinion, so there was no exceptions in the report. That's not on our bullets in our PowerPoint presentation, but there were also no findings or question cost, which means is not only in the manner of the way the county spends federal and state dollars, which is the single audit portion of our engagement, but it's also our review and study of your internal control system, how the county handles its cash receipts, cash disbursements, policies and procedures as it relates to finance. So that's always good news. We once a year we do get to express our thanks publicly. Our staff not only works with Melanie and her staff, but we work with virtually every department head in the county in some shape or form, specifically at social services and public health, and we always want to express our gratitude for their cooperation. It's not always, most of our clients are cooperative, but you guys are just, everything's on time. It just makes the engagement go much more smooth. This year, and when you look through the report, you're going to see some new words. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board had a standards change that's effective for this year. You may have heard it at a County Commissioners Association meeting. It's called, they refer to it as GASB 54, but the words you're used to reading are restricted, designated, and available and unavailable. Now we're using words like reserved. You were used to seeing reserved. Now you're going to see the word restricted. We're going to see words called assigned and committed. They're replacements for designated. There's really no change there. And then instead of it being available fund balance, it's unassigned fund balance. And so from a legislative standpoint, not a significant change, but I just want to point out to you as you're looking through your report, you're going to see a little bit of language changes. The fund balance, the word you're used to seeing is reserved by state statute. That's been replaced with stabilization by state statute. I want to tell you, we don't make these terms up. So we would have used some other word maybe, but and we don't do that just to stay employed either. We just play by the rules like everyone else. So you're going to see a few little different terminologies, but again, from a legislative standpoint, the impact is pretty much the same. Now to the scorecard. Your total fund balance, June 30, 2012, is $21.9 million. The reserve by state statute, which is now called stabilization by state statute, is almost $6 million. And what that means is of your $21.9 million in fund balance, there's around $6 million that's in fund balance but not available fund balance. It can't be budgeted, it can't be expended. It's generally tied to accounts receivable, which in Pitt County is generally your sales tax dollars for July, August, and September. So it's you earned the money, but you didn't have it on hand to spend the money, and so the statutes prevent you from being able to budget those dollars. So your available fund balance is $15.8 million, and that's a decrease from 2010 of $3.7 million. So in round dollars, fund balance went down in the $3.7, $3.8 million range on a $126 million general fund budget. And I'm speaking, when I talk general fund, you have a general fund that consists of your general fund, your social services fund, your public health fund. They're all added together. The court facility. So it's not just Fund 10. I don't know how you're used to communicating, but it's all your funds added together that make up your general fund. Here's the picture worth 1,000 words. Fund balance in 2009 was 17.6%. Fund balance as a percentage of expenditures and transfers is what this is. You take this, your available fund balance, and make that your numerator. You take your $126 million in general fund expenditures plus approximately $7 million in transfers, of which the majority, 95% of that, is to the debt service fund for debt payments. That becomes your denominator. And what it's a measure of is how much ready and available fund balance does the county have on hand to meet its obligations for the next fiscal year. And the Local Government Commission uses and talks about an 8% benchmark. There's not a statutory level that says 8%, but 8% is 1/12, 1 month. And so if you think in factors of 8, 16, 24, that's how you can measure the county's liquidity. And so you were at 17.6 in 2009, which is a little over 2 months. Now you're at 12.04, which is 6 weeks as in available fund balance. The troubling thing about this slide is that as the decline has been between $3 and $4 million 3 years in a row now. I looked this morning, I was conjecturing, and then I thought that's always dangerous in a public meeting, so I looked. Your 2007 CAFR, we were looking at your 2007 audit report, your revenues were $126 million. Your revenues in 2011 are $126 million. The change is that you used to be in the Medicaid business, and so your sales tax dollars were a lot higher, and you're not in the Medicaid business anymore, and so your revenues you're at 2011, your 2011 revenues are at 2007 levels. Your investment earnings, for example, were $1.8 million in 2007, and they're $300,000 or $400,000, I think. Is that about right, Melanie? In 2011. The bad news is you're not in the Medicaid business anymore, and your expenditures in 2011 are the same number they were in 2007. So what we saved in Medicaid here in Pitt County has been consumed in cost of living increases. Not cost of living increases, cost of doing business increases. And so the troubling truth is the fund balance that typically when in the days of good and plenty, if you saw reductions in fund balance, it was due to one-time capital expenses. It was planned seed money for a capital project. It was one-time hits and then off we go. The last 2 years for sure, I didn't go back to 2009, but the last 2 years, the reduction in fund balance has been caused by recurring expenditures. And so you can anticipate it happening again. I looked at your 2012 budget. You didn't appropriate as much in 2012 as you did in 2011, but you did have appropriated fund balance in your current budget that you're operating in. And when I met with Scott and Melanie to kind of do an exit conference, one of the discussions we had is that what we used to see, we've been doing governmental audits for 20 years now, what we used to see is appropriated fund balance in the budget and then addition to fund balance in actual, because there was always either unfunded positions or funded empty positions in the payroll. There was folks there were turnover, there was a liquid employment. And so we're just trying to show that we're in a day now, because we're 3 years going into the 4th year of a pretty tough recession, that those savings probably, that's why you're not seeing those savings anymore. So I don't want to belabor a point, Madam Chairman. I just want to point out that the decline is not 3 years of funding capital projects, it's 3 years of funding operations. The next couple slides will just repeat somewhat of what I said, and the reason I wanted to say that in one diatribe is that if you get bored, I've got it out there, but you can see revenues have underpaced expenditures in the last 3 years, even though the government has actually gotten smaller. 132 million expenditures in 2009, 131 in 2011. And then the next few slides just show where your money comes from. 60%, 58% in ad valorem taxes. The other taxes and license are primarily sales tax. And then the ad valorem taxes are relatively flat over the last 3 years. I did notice this year you actually collected less in property taxes than you budgeted, which is unusual. Generally, there's a little bit of surprise, good surprise, because you're bound to, you can only budget last year's collection rate and last year's valuation. And so generally you have a little bit of growth that you aren't counting on. And we're not seeing that in any of our units, not just here at Pitt County, but somewhat across the state. You'll jump the 2009 to 2011. That drop is a little bit misleading because we got out of the Medicaid business and there was a sales tax swap, but we're still, I would say that if we look back in the 2007 years, the sales tax number was in the low 20 millions. So just showing you that we're at a new level of revenues, I think is the easiest way to explain that. Restricted intergovernmentals are tied primarily to need. Again, in a recession like this one, and we've got to remember that Medicaid's not in these numbers that you're looking at, and you're not seeing them decline. I mean, we're at 26.6 million in restricted intergovernmentals. That's primarily your public services. That means the roles are growing, on the public health, social services roles. How do you spend your money? A third on human resources, a third on education, 25% on public safety. The general government has operated at effectively the same dollars. That's all your non-direct service benefits. Public safety will go up and down with its capital needs, and so it's a little difficult just to make a pinpoint decision of what happens with the sheriff and EMS department. Human services, again, is a function of, one, getting out of the Medicaid business, and two, demand, how many people are on the rolls. And then this is how much you've given to either Pitt Community College or Pitt's Board of Education over the last 3 years, and $38 million in 2009 to $39.8 million in 2011. We've got a short slide, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but what's going on at the state legislature, they've pretty much dealt with a lot of their issues because they passed a 2-year budget. And but what we wanted to warn clients of is that they had a lot of one-time revenues that went away, and they dealt with a lot of that in the last budget, the budget they passed before the July 1 the year we're operating in. So we're just asking, and you've always been active with your local representatives, is to pay attention to what's going on in Raleigh, because as you well know, it will funnel its way all the way to Greenville. And you're not as far away from Greenville as we are, but we see it too. It's not as, the other issue to watch is with our national election, what's going to, just follow what happens with the national health care debate. You're a large employer. What happens in health care is going to affect the way you do business, one way or the other. It's going to have an impact. It's hard to predict what that impact would be. But with that, Mr. Chairman, I would either duck or get a weapon or something. So I would like to answer any questions if I can.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Johnson, anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Starnes, I'm particularly interested as a comparison, the appropriation of fund balance compared to other counties where you do audits. Aren't we doing fairly well in terms of less appropriation of fund balance year by year?
I think that's a difficult question to answer directly, and I don't like to not answer your questions directly. What we're seeing as an average is a reduction of fund balance of between 3% and 5% of their total budget. So if you're at a $120 million budget, 3% would be $3.6 million, and you're at $3.6 million. And so that's about the average real reduction in fund balance that unit, especially counties. It's very difficult, and be careful not to compare yourself to cities. Cities don't have school boards and they don't have human services, and so they don't have to deal with funding a large chunk being education, and they don't have to deal with when a recession. The longer a recession lasts, the more human services will cost you, and so don't be careful not to do that. And because I know Greenville's a large unit right here in town, but other counties are experiencing similar consequences. Their sales tax are flat, investment earnings are virtually non-existent. Permits for building starts are down, no property tax growth. That's pretty much the same story across the state. And so the fund balance hits being in the 3 to 4% range.
But we are not doing any worse than most of the other counties.
I guess that would be a true statement. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Starr.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner McLaughlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just from my understanding, I think I do, we talk about qualified and unqualified. To me, and just thinking from a normal's perspective, qualified would be
good.
What we're looking for. Yeah, but explain that again.
Okay. As your auditor, the opinion letter is really what you hire us to do, is to do enough work to issue an opinion that says that you as a reader, the citizens as a reader, your stakeholders, whether they be lending institutions, institutional investors, bond holders, that they can take these financial statements and make decisions on them. They're reasonable, they're dependable. And so an unqualified opinion means that in that opinion letter, there's no qualifying paragraphs, and it would be like this, Mr. Commissioner, it would say, everything's okay except for sales tax receivable. We just think that number's wrong, and management wouldn't change it to the right number, and so you can make a decision based on everything else in the report, but that one. That would be a qualified opinion. There'd be an opinion in the paragraph in the opinion letter that would say everything's okay, but. Right. And so it's a very difficult language to understand, and I apologize. That's why I want to say that a clean opinion there's no qualifiers in the report.
Right. Okay. Now, in your opinion, your professional opinion, are we still in a recession?
In Caldwell County, we're still in a recession. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not an economist and I'm not a lawyer, so if I need a lawyer, I'm going to use yours. But I think in North Carolina, we are maybe not in as difficult a times as we have been, but we're still. Here's what it's going to take to recover. We all know that. We all go to the grocery store and we all shop. We're going to have a housing recovery. We're going to have consumer confidence to spend their money, and that means stable employment. And you have to have those three things to spend our way out of what we're feeling. So areas, and Greenville's one of them. Caldwell County's not one of them. Areas where there's a little bit of an epicenter, you have to come to Greenville to do business, you'll start seeing things get better. I live in a rural county, Caldwell County. We're going to not see it for a while. We got more empty plants than we have full plants. And so until the consumer is able to spend dollars again, that's what causes things to get better. I hope that helps. That's as unqualified an opinion as I can give you.
Okay, Commissioner Garris.
Yes, Madam Chairman. I have the same concern that has already been expressed by some of our commissioners, and that is the reduction in our fund balance. We are now at 12.04%, and I believe you said that was a 6 weeks spending. So then that means that we have a 2-week cushion over and above what the law requires, because the law requires that we have a month or 4 weeks. So I'm concerned about that reduction. That 12.04%, that chart, are those numbers calculated on a January to December or July to July?
July to July.
Okay. So what projection do we have for this coming July as to what that percent number would be? Do you have any idea based upon your assessment?
No, that would be I'd have to defer.
None of us have looked at that. One thing I'm looking at right now, I continue to, in order to build fund balance or not spend fund balance, any vacancies that come on, we try not to fill them. Right now, I've got about 52 vacancies across the entire organization. they're not being filled. That's everything from detention center, DSS, inspections, permitting center, planning, buildings and grounds. And I know some of the commissioners are calling the public and starting to have concerns about level of service. My plan review within the inspection department is not getting done within the normal time frame. My inspection in the field is not getting done. Well, we're not filling these positions all across the spectrum. It would technically take about 70 positions county-wide to be eliminated to eliminate the $3.5 million fund balance plug. And we are really at a wake-up call position right now for the current year, and more so in the new year, as to should we have a plug? How much should that fund balance plug be? And then on top of that then is the whole layered reevaluation scenario with a 5 to 6% drop in the total value of the base. So right now I am holding on to positions, and as more positions come vacant, we will continue to hold on to those as well. Some areas, yes, I do have to release them. 911, when you call 911, you expect a telecommunicator to answer. The Sheriff's Department, for officers there, the detention center, and there's just a lot of our operations that we don't really have a choice but to fill those positions. But there are other areas that are optional, and those are being held.
Okay, Ms. Bryant.
I think I want to add to that. I mean, while the manager's doing everything he can to contain cost, what makes it very difficult at this point in the year is your second largest revenue stream, which is sales tax. You've gotten 2/12. It's very hard to predict your full year performance based on two payments, because July, August, and September receipts accrued backwards into the old year. So it's just the two deposits we've gotten in October and November that give us any indication of what we may do this year. So if we put realistic and conservative revenue estimates in, if we contain costs wherever we can, and then we go into the new budget with a goal of reducing the appropriation, reducing the plug, that's short of taking drastic measures. That may be sort of all you can do. We've talked, do we take larger than normal steps to resize permanently, the size of our operation? Because, back when you talked 07 and we over-collected and underspent, well, that fluff that was in anybody's budget, that's gone now. We've moved from spending 95% of our budgets to 97% of our budgets, 98% of our budgets, because you cut the extra travel, you cut the extra office supplies. If they had $5 more a month in rent than they needed on a copier, we brought that down so that normal operations tend to drive people to spend almost all of their operating budget. So the only way you can save money on the expenditure side is just what Scott's doing, and that's freeze every vacancy as it comes up, which then drives those other issues, the phone calls you're getting about the inspection that didn't happen the same day, or the phone call that took a day to get returned, because demand for service is at an all-time high in some areas. DSS, Public Health, 911, Sheriff's Department, while the ability to respond to those demands is still somewhat sized as it was 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
My only observation, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
is that I think that we need to do whatever drastic measures we need to take in order to assure that this trend does not continue, because if it does continue, then in less than a year and a half, we're going to be below the 8%.
I don't want a letter from the state.
Do what?
I
So
don't
we've
want
got
from
to
the
do
state.
what we need to do to make sure that that trend is at least stabilized and hopefully by some miracle reversed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Owens?
You mentioned the after effects of the General Assembly being in Raleigh. What do you perceive to be any additional problems for the county as a result of the 1 cent sales tax that was allowed to lapse?
I really, my big fear, and I'm going to say this and then really duck behind the lectern because I've been here with Mr. James before, is I'm afraid of unfunded mandates, because at the state they're more, for example, the mental health industry is the easiest example to point to. It got to be such an expensive program that they, quote, reformed, and what reform really means is pushed down to the local level. and let those guys deal with the details. And so deliver the services, meet the needs, and you deal with it at the local level. This thing that scared us this time last year, and I think I might even have said this at the presentation, is that there were members of the either the Ways and Means Committee staff or the governor's staff, I don't remember which one, that could tell you off the tip of their tongue the sum total of the fund balances of 100 counties. In other words, they could say of the 100 counties in North Carolina, they have $122 million in fund balance. So the money's out there. Don't tell us we're broke. The money's just spread out over 100 counties. Now, we didn't hear any more about that, and I think the County Commissioners Association did an excellent job with their lobby. But just be on the lookout for unfunded mandates. We have to provide these services to our citizens, and you do it at the local level, and we just seem to forget to send the revenues that go along with it. Mr. Owen, I hope that's a weak answer, but that's the only reason we mention that, is that that's still a risk that every unit faces in North Carolina.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. James?
What I'm really concerned about has not even been mentioned. And that is the debt we owe, the millions. I don't know how many of you realize this or not, but your biggest expense right now is the interest that we are paying. How many millions is that now?
In
Just
debt
listen
or
to
interest? In debt or interest?
The debt, well, not, I want to know, I know the debt, the amount of interest that we are paying, because this is one of the things that got so many people in trouble, and always does. This is the reason we got a recession right now, is what he's going to tell you.
6.9 million. 6.9 million.
6.9 million, but then it goes much more than that. All right, now I'm talking about a lot of this, it goes up to 17 or 18 million dollars. And a lot of that money, it's much more than 6.9. All right, but a lot of that money is earmarked to be paid by sales tax. But suppose, just say suppose, they decide that, and they can do this, I reckon, we're going to get rid of that sales tax, that quarter-cent sales tax that Pitt County gets. And the way that the atmosphere is in Raleigh, anything can happen. Then, what kind of conditions would that put the county of Pitt in?
That by all means,
financially broke.
Well, I don't know about broke, but difficult. Difficult. So.
But you better look at things like that. See. And but where did I get 17 million? I didn't just make that figure up. I didn't even get it from here. I got it from other sources.
You paid 14 million in principal reduction.
All right.
And then 6.9 million in interest.
That's where I'm coming from. So that's got to be paid. The more you pay that, the less money you got in that, Jimmy. And if it keeps going up, which it is, then we're going to stay in trouble. And we here in Pitt County are doing the same doggone thing that the citizens of many of the United States has overdone. We spend all of this money and we're hoping that everything is going to stay smooth. I do this, I'm guilty of it. But it don't stay that way. Things go up and it puts us in a bind. And that's what, I won't ever forget, Dr. Johnson, when your man came here from East Carolina. He stood up there and he told us, you people might as well go back to the year 208, I believe was the year he gave us, with expenses and so forth and spending money. Because that's where we need to be to, because everything has gone so high, so fast, that we can't fulfill the obligations. And I don't know, but I think, Jimmy, we got to look at it not only from what the manager's talking about, but we got to look at the amount of money that we are spending and how can we cut back. That's what I've done with my business. I've had to look at it. I've had to cut back on insurance, drop some insurance. Instead of $1,000 deductible, a $500 deductible, go to $1,000 or $2,000 or $4,000 deductible. You have to do things, and that we might have to come to that to take and to make sure, because we can't cut the way that we are on personnel, like on social services. There are certain federal government and state government demands that you take and that you do certain things, and you can't go but so low. And it's just like the sheriff's department. They can't go but so low. So we're going to have to look at other ways, not only as they've got to do it, but we've got to do our part at the same time, I believe. And it's just like I go out to Pitt Community College. It's wonderful. But I look at all those buildings that are being built now, somebody's going to pay. And you're not going to pay this year, but you're going to pay how many years, Mr. Manager?
There's a 25-year notes.
25 years you got to pay for it now. That's when you're going to, but you know that, and this has always been amazing to me, you don't have any credit until you borrow millions. That is the most stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But, and that's the manager, he and I, we don't agree there, but I like it.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
I come at a good time. Mr. James, you just made the case for going to Raleigh, watching, and we can't get you to go. We need to go every time that they have an organized session to lobby the members of the General Assembly against their passing down obligations to the counties. And we need to be sure to go. And I want to clarify also, Madam Chairman, the 8% fund balance is not law, that's recommended, is that not correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Mr.
It's not a
Thomas,
statutory limit, it's a recommended.
It's, that doesn't mean that we can't maintain more than the 8%, and wisely in the past, this board has maintained more than the 8%. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
One sentence, Mr. James.
One sentence. If I thought I would do any good, I would go to Raleigh.
Can
the manager has something to add before we
Well,
accept the report?
And I really made my comment about the positions we're holding, and let me add to that. In the past year or two, we've developed a budget on the premise of trying to keep all people employed with Pitt County in positions in all, whether human services, general government, public safety. But I'm afraid that moving into the new cycle, and maybe even in the current cycle, we're not going to be able to keep all these positions funded and keep an adequate fund balance unless there's a major difference in the way we generate revenue, whether that's through our sales tax, property tax, collections and so forth. But we're, as Melanie said, we're looking seriously, and we've already kicked off the budget session for 12-13. We've met with every single department head and have started looking at the different scenarios that they're going to face, that the county's going to face, and what's expected of them. So we've gone through round one, and I mean, this is here, we're doing this in the end of November, early December. Normally a process that really doesn't start until February, March of 2012. But that's all I have.
Okay, I'll be glad to entertain a motion to accept this report.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. If there's no more discussion, let's vote. Okay. The next item on our agenda, and I apologize to these three people now that you've had to be here this long. We'll try to remember to maybe move this towards the front, something like this next time of our agenda. We're going to come down and do employee recognition for people who have served the county 30 years or more.
Madam
And they're
Chairman,
retiring. Motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt and present all three of these resolutions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. Okay,
Proceed.
Mr. Manager, if you'll proceed and call the first person.
Okay. This morning, we have 3 Pitt County employees that we'd like to recognize. We have a beautiful framed resolution that I'll read for each one. And if we can have Tina Broadway come up first. And as she comes up, obviously, these are employees who have been with this organization for a very long time. We're going to be losing and missing their expertise and their long tenure with our organization. And obviously, when these people leave as well, they create a vacancy, and then that is the angst for me working with the department head to figure out, can we freeze this position, or is there a dire need to fill it? So, but that aside, let's recognize
Let's
the celebration today, and I guess leave the other side the way it is. So this is titled Resolution of Appreciation honoring Tina M. Broadway for her years of service with Pitt County government. Whereas Tina M. Broadway has served the citizens of Pitt County faithfully during her career with the Pitt County Tax Administration Department from September 14th, 1981 to December 30th, 2011. And whereas Ms. Broadway has provided over 30 years of service through her chosen career with the Tax Assessors Division with commitment, devotion, passion, and integrity. And whereas Ms. Broadway started her career as a Clerk 1 and currently holds the title of Personal Property Manager. And where her peers within her chosen career value and seek her opinions, value her strong work ethic, and have been inspired by her effectiveness. And whereas Ms. Broadway received certification from the North Carolina Department of Revenue as a personal property appraiser in 1995 and certification from the North Carolina Association of Assessing Officers as a personal property appraiser in 2010. And whereas Tina Broadway is a member of the North Carolina Association of Assessing Officers and the International Association of Assessing Officers. Whereas Tina Broadway has received the following certificates of achievement during her tenure: the billing and collection software implementation by our IAS software vendor, the North Carolina Property Tax System Star Contributor Award by Farragut, another our software vendor for the Pitt County, and multiple Pitt County Employee Incentive Program awards. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby honor Tina Broadway for her commitment to the Pitt County Tax Administration Department / Assessors Division within Pitt County government for her outstanding and admirable service to the citizens of Pitt County, adopted this 5th day of December 2007, signed by our former chairman, Mark W. Owens, and attested by our clerk, Kimberly W. Hines. Would you like to present that?
Yes. Congratulations. They don't put pockets in women's pants to put these things on. Congratulations. Tina, would you like to say something? We're going to miss you.
I just appreciate everything Pitt County has done for me and all the opportunities that I've had.
Thank you.
Take a picture.
Thank you.
And next.
Okay, next, if Joey Ellis will come forward from the tax office. Good morning. Let me proceed?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Resolution of appreciation honoring Joey G. Ellis for his years of service with Pitt County government. Whereas Joey Ellis has served the citizens of Pitt County faithfully during his career with the Pitt County Tax Administration Department from April 6, 1977 through December 30th, 2011. Whereas Joey Ellis has provided over 30 years of service through his chosen career with the Tax Assessors Division, again with commitment, devotion, passion, and integrity. Whereas Mr. Ellis started his career as a drafting technician and currently holds the title of GIS/Land Records Manager. Whereas his peers within his chosen career also value and seek his opinions, value strong work ethic, and have been inspired by his effectiveness. Whereas Mr. Ellis has received a degree from Pitt Technical Institute in architectural drafting and was certified by the North Carolina Secretary of State as a North Carolina Certified Property Mapper in 2009. Whereas Joey Ellis is a member of the North Carolina Property Mappers Association. Whereas Mr. Ellis received the North Carolina Property Mappers Association Mapper in designation in 1984, the North Carolina Property Mappers Association Senior Mapper designation, and the North Carolina Property Mappers Advanced Mapper Academic Achievement Award in 2009. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby honor Joey G. Ellis for his commitment to the Pitt County Tax Administration Department / Assessors Division and Pitt County government for his outstanding and admirable service to the citizens of Pitt County, again adopted this 5th day of 2011 of December and signed by, again, our former chairman, Mark Owens.
Joey, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you, and I've enjoyed it. I have made a lot of
good people, made a lot of good friends here in Pitt County. So thank you.
Thank you for your confidence.
Let's squeeze in a bit good.
And next,
All right, our third, this is unusual to have this many folks going out. Deborah Nichols, if you'll come forward, please. Buildings and Grounds. Good morning. Proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. Again, a resolution of appreciation honoring Deborah P. Nichols for her years of service with Pitt County government. Whereas Deborah Nichols has served the citizens of Pitt County faithfully during her career with Pitt County Buildings and Grounds Department from August 14th, 1978 to December 30th, 2011. Whereas Deborah Nichols has provided over 30 years of service through her chosen career with the Pitt County Buildings and Grounds Department with commitment, devotion, passion, and integrity. Whereas Deborah Nichols started her career as a maintenance helper and quickly picked up on skills as a proficient welder and continued to increase her skills as a very knowledgeable woodworker and later became a trusted locksmith. Whereas Deborah Nichols always displayed a positive, upbeat attitude and was always dependable. Whereas Deborah Nichols always demonstrated unwavering commitment to her job and the quality of work she rendered. Whereas Deborah Nichols is admired by her co-workers for her honesty, strong work ethic, and perseverance. Now therefore be resolved that the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby honor Deborah P. Nichols for her commitment to the Pitt County Buildings and Grounds Department and for her outstanding and admirable service to the citizens of Pitt County. Adopted this 5th day of December 2011 and signed by our former chairman, Mark Owens.
Congratulations, Deborah. Thank you. I know you'll be missed. Your co-workers and all of us also.
No, I kind of grew up here. I was 21 when I came. Great. Now, but anyway, it's been great. It's been great. I've learned something new just about every day that I've been here. And if I can say one thing, do the best you can from 8 to 5. Go home. It's your time after that. Okay.
Squeeze in a picture.
Good advice.
Did you get it?
You did it?
We have public address to the board now. Is anyone signed up?
No, ma'am.
Okey-doke. Since there's no one signed up, we'll go to your items for report, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Basically, under items report, we have the announcement of our next meeting dates, December 19th at 6 p.m. And then in the month of January, we'll hold one meeting on January the 9th, and it'll be a 9 a.m. meeting. Otherwise, do have an announcement the Pitt County Animal Shelter has asked me to make, and this concerns Share the Love and Find Forever Homes for Pitt County's homeless pets. This is a program or promotion that's being partnership between our animal shelter and the Greenville Subaru dealership to find homes for homeless animals. And basically, this program will allow people who buy new cars or lease cars to have an option to choose to donate $250 among 5 charities in which the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is a member partner, which helps our shelter. And this event will occur on December the 17th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And this is the dealership on Memorial Drive. We would encourage all citizens who are thinking about buying or leasing a car to consider doing this and making a donation for the help of our shelter. And that's all I have.
Okay. Our next item of business, Mr. Dickerson.
Ms. King.
Oh, okay. Ms. King, if you'll step forward, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Back in March of 2010, we came to you and requested designation of a piece of property of land for a community garden. And because of your designation, we were able to fulfill one of the longtime visions of our partners within county government in the community involved in our Eat Smart, Move More initiatives. With that designation, we were able to apply for a Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina Foundation grant, which we received, and later were able to add funding from our Communities Putting Prevention to Work grant and also Nourishing North Carolina grant. Through the strong collaboration of our county departments, including health, planning, engineering, community schools and recreation, buildings and grounds, soil and water conservation, and cooperative extension, we were able to make that community garden become a reality. One key component to any new project is leadership and expertise. And we were very, very fortunate to be able to hire Joni Torres as our community garden technician. Joni has done a tremendous job in leading this project. And we'd like to ask her to come forward at this time to share what's happened since November 2010 until today. Joni.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here today, and I'll be brief because I know you have a lot to do. So our Making Pitt Fit Community Garden is located on County Home Road, and this is our site location, and as Ms. Keene just mentioned, this site, when it was chosen, was actually really a wonderful choice because, as you can see, it is located just across the street from the farmers market and the recycling center. The animal shelter is there. We're just down the road from the Wintergreen School, and we're adjacent to the district park. Some of our gardeners actually were walking the trails when they saw the garden starting, and so that's how they knew that the garden was going to happen. And some of them also take part in activities at the community schools and recreation building, and so that's how the word got out too. So we are located, I think, in terms of connectivity, well suited there. We're kind of in a nice little spot. We're kind of tucked away from the road, but if you'd like to come out and see us, we'd love to have you, give you a tour of the garden. So this is the field as it looked in November of 2010. And you go out there and you look at this empty field and you think, well, we've got to have a plan. So we worked together and came up with this layout of the garden. If you look on the beds, the areas colored in green, those are the areas that were made available for rental. There are 4-foot wide by 20-foot long plots. They rent for $15 for the entire year. And within 2 weeks of the word going out in the newspaper about the garden, all the plots were rented, and we had a waiting list of about 10 people. The areas in purple, the areas in purple are the children's garden, which is another part of our program. The Blue Cross Blue Shield grant was trying to also encourage what they call intergenerational gardening. So we have a space designated for children to come and have a gardening activity. And the areas in yellow, that's what we call the welcome garden. And it welcomes visitors to the garden, but it also is a source of, it's a habitat for beneficials, for pollinators, bees and butterflies and things like that. So we tried to incorporate some of the, take notice also, one of our, I guess one of our goals was to increase physical activity for our gardeners. So if you look at where the location of the mulch pile is, it is outside the garden gates. To get that mulch into the garden, they have to wheelbarrow it in. So lots of physical activity. We actually designed it to encourage people to move around a lot. So with that, with the plan in hand, we started site preparation throughout the winter months. And again, lots of cooperation from buildings and grounds and soil and water conservation, the planning, engineering, everybody came together. So this was a real community project from the beginning. Before we even had gardeners in there, we had a community effort ongoing. Once we had the gardeners signed up, I held a number of workshops. Some of the gardeners are new to the area. Some of them had never gardened before. And so we had workshops to help them to plan their gardens, to learn about the planting schedule here, because it might have been different from where they came. And when they left the first workshop, they were told to come to the garden with a plan in your hand. Of course, on groundbreaking day, some of them came without anything in their hands, but they just so enthusiastic. We broke ground on April 5th. And you can see the soil. We had 2 piles of compost brought in, and the gardeners brought that compost into the garden, and they worked their beds and incorporated. And you can immediately see the change in the soil from the paths where it's not amended and where they're amending it. So nice, good turkey litter compost was amended in there. And so by April, mid-April, the garden was on its way. It has been fenced in. We have 2 sheds there for storage. One is for the children's garden program and one is for the adults. And we even have a raised bed there that we used. We repurposed some siding, plastic lumber, and we were able to make a raised bed to make it wheelchair accessible. So this was mid-August. The garden was looking pretty good. Bad things happened to us with Hurricane Irene. But we replanted, and this is the garden in October. Just getting ready for the site visit for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And you can see it's looking through the welcome garden because we really want people to come in and feel excited and welcome when they enter our garden. we sort of stopped and took a pause in November, and we had what was a harvest meal. And basically, everybody came together and brought dishes, and we shared a meal. And it was kind of a Thanksgiving thing, and one of the things that many of them said was how thankful they were for the opportunity to have this garden. There was this need in the community, and when the garden appeared, people were so excited. As a matter of fact, on the first day of groundbreaking, people came up to hug me, to thank me for the garden, and I had to tell them it's not me, it's all these other folks who have done this groundwork for us. So they're very grateful for the opportunity. So the other aspect of our garden is the children's gardening program, and through the Blue Cross Blue Shield grant, we wanted to encourage physical activity and encourage children to try new things. And so we have the wintergreen kindergartners coming out there, and the spelling is deliberate. They're kindergartners. And they come out there, they came out there every day of the week for about 2.5 months, and they themselves started some of the children's beds. And you can see they're small, but they're very useful. They're lots of energy, and it's a nice break for them in the middle of the day to come out and do something that's purposeful. They're not running around. I mean, one of the rules in the garden is you don't run in the garden. So they come out there, and they love to, get their tools and get started. And the intergenerational aspect was very rewarding, too, for the senior volunteers, because they enjoyed the experience as much as the children. The children are funny, and the gardeners were able to answer a lot of their questions. We had some master gardener volunteers, and we had some senior center volunteers, and everybody found it rewarding. As a matter of fact, they kind of missed the kids, and we're ready to start that program again. In the summer, we had summer camp kids coming out. They got to harvest what the other children had sown. And so they enjoyed a lot of fun, too. And they harvested for the food bank initially. And then they were asking, well, can we eat some of this food? Which is exactly where we wanted them to be. So we said, oh, sure, yes, you can. And so we had days when they would harvest, and then we'd go to the building at Schools and Recreation because of the proximity. They were able to use those facilities. And they sampled things that we had kids. We made fresh salsa with tomatoes from the garden. We made an eggplant stew called, there I go again, ratatouille, and you can see the young man over there holding the plate. And basically all those things came from the garden, not just the vegetables, but the herbs that we used to season the dish. And that was kind of fun for these kids, too, to smell some of these herbs for the first time, fresh basil, fresh oregano. They got really excited. To them, it was like perfume, really. We're very fortunate because different members of our community have also stepped up and donated services or things to the garden. We've had Girl Scouts come in to build raised beds, an Eagle Scout building a compost bin, and a structure for us to a swing and arbor combination. We've had donation of plant materials for the Welcome Garden, and we've had other volunteers who've come in and built us this beautiful pergola, which is hurricane-proof, I assure you. It might even be tornado-proof, I'm not sure. So just to quickly wrap up some of the benefits of community gardening. The grants, both the CPPW grant and the Blue Cross Blue Shield grant, two of their main goals were increasing physical activity, which we have done, both for children and adults. You cannot come out to the garden and just sit. You've got to move around. And so that's been very helpful to the kids. They're very enthusiastic about that. And then increasing consumption of fresh produce. Some of the gardeners, you're out there and you see somebody growing radishes or something else, and you decide you're going to give it a try, and then you've got this crop of radishes. Now you've got to eat them because you've grown them. And so that was a neat thing. Studies indicate when people grow their own produce, they tend to consume more of it. And they tend to try more varieties of it, too. So that's been a very positive effect. And then just sharing knowledge and produce. You get 10 gardeners in a room, and they've got 10 different ways to grow the best tomatoes in the world. And so they share this information, and they love to share excess produce with each other. And so lots of friendships and camaraderie, good fellowship out there in the garden, I think. Which is, it's one of those intangibles, you can't measure it in pounds, but it's just there in the good feelings that are there. And we're also, I think, raising the next generation of gardeners. One study was done with community gardeners across the country, and 87% of them said that they gardened as children. So that is when you get folks to start. You start them gardening as children, and this can be a lifelong passion or a lifelong hobby, but it's a very productive hobby. So this is when they were planting the strawberries. And we also donated over 400 pounds of surplus produce to the food bank. What the children didn't consume, we were able to donate, and we hope to increase that amount next year. Not just produce, not just vegetables, but also herbs. So that was nice. So just a quick reminder of where we've come and where we are right now. That's what we started with, an empty field. And this was when the garden was looking really good in July. A nice picture there, looking through the welcome garden to the arbor, to the pergola. And again, this was all done with grants from Blue Cross Blue Shield and the communities putting prevention to work. That logo, Take Step 2 Pitt County, that's their logo, and also the Nourishing North Carolina grant. So all this was done with grants, and very appreciative of that. If we have a webpage, it's called makingpittfitcommunitygarden.com. We're on Facebook. Actually, when I looked on Facebook, there's somebody in Bangladesh, I think, and Britain and so on who have friended us. So we're Pitt County's on the map. And I think we're definitely keeping the green in Greenville by having this site. So if you want to contact me, there's contact information there. We are trying to use this garden as a model garden, as an educational garden, to show other people who are interested in gardens. And I've had several contacts recently. My first year was spent in just getting the garden going. But several contacts recently about other folks who are interested in starting community gardens. And the first thing I say is come to our garden so we can look at it and see what we're doing, the layout of it, and then we can talk. So I provide technical support also for them. So if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them today. Thank you very much.
Anybody? Mr. James?
Who's in charge of your pH and so forth there on the land? It all ought to be the same, because if you don't, if you got plots, somebody's going to put more lime or fertilizer contains that, and your pH value, of course, determines as to the years to come as to whether or not you're going to have a good garden.
Yes, when I first got there, the first thing I did was sample the soil. So we have now the record of what the site was sampled before.
In other words, you're putting it across all of the diverse.
Yes, I sampled the whole field.
Right. Don't let them put the lime and so forth. You know what?
Well, they did end up. We figured out how much they needed to put per bed based on their square footage.
Right.
And so we had each gardener apply that then. And then midsummer, I did a workshop on soil fertility, and then we sampled individual beds again to see how they were doing.
That's
and
good.
So they're right on the mark right now. There's no need for adding any more lime.
Yeah.
But
because
it did come in.
an ice potato's got to have low pH value, whereas another one have it 6.5.
Yes.
You're doing it right.
Yes.
That's good.
We do that in the workshop, but whether it's up to them to apply the knowledge, it's
That's good. You're
yes,
doing
but
good.
we're trying
You're
to
doing
provide.
right.
Okay, Commissioner Webb?
I just want to thank you for the work you guys are doing. This was actually put on display in Washington, D.C., in front of commissioners from all over the nation last week, and I can tell you they were very jealous about what you guys are doing here in Pitt County. So if you see a van pull up and it's got another county seal on it, don't get in it, because they're going to try to steal you away. But this is a really wonderful thing, and I applaud what you guys are doing out there.
It's been very rewarding, and the folks are very, very appreciative. It's just amazing. The very first few weeks, they were so excited to be out there and to have that opportunity. So we hope to continue and make it a sustainable garden. And one of the things that we think is really important, too, to make it sustainable is just the tenure of that land. Because it's public land, it's secure. And so folks can build on that and know that that land is going to be available to them for years to come. So
You've all done a wonderful job.
thank you. It's with the support of everybody in the county. Thank you.
Commissioner Webb, thank you for saying that. And I don't know, where'd you find her?
I was just lurking.
What a blessing to Pitt County. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and excitement, because
yeah, it's been my pleasure.
And you're whipping them into shape out there. It certainly is evident. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is that it, Alice? Okay. Thank you. Also, before we entertain a motion to accept the items for consent, I've had a request to move number 5 to decision. So if we'll do that.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. It ain't gonna take but a minute. Second.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Has everybody finished voting? I like mine. I moved to reference on page 30 of the agenda. I move to affirm the rules of procedure with the additions or exceptions, however you want to put it, that all monthly meetings be at 9 a.m. in the morning for the Pitt County Commissioners.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been seconded to affirm the rules and procedures as written with the change of making all of the meetings at 9 a.m.
Mr. Chairman,
Madam-
you can finish the prior vote before you vote on that.
Okay, Mr. Owens, I need for you to hit confirmed.
You got it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. James?
Yes, what do? I think for the public for the public to take part in one meeting at night is very good. So what did, Madam Attorney, how would I go about doing that to be correct?
To make a substitute motion.
Or just make a substitute motion? I'd like to make a substitute motion, Madam Chairman, that everything remain the same except our meetings will continue to be as they are now.
I second that.
And there's been a second. Okay, any other discussion or comments? Yes, Mr. Owens?
The reasoning for my motion is that we started this way some time back, and at that time, we would have public hearings and the public, we tried to do it for the public's benefit. From the time of commencement until now, there has been no change in the number of people that became, whether it's in the daytime or nighttime. To me, I think it's more efficient for our county manager and the staff to go about their work and to not have to come in at night as additional duties for them. Don't know how they're paid, and that's regardless of that, but it'd be more of an efficiency and economical process. And this day and time where we have shift work, I think that's probably what someone contended one time, that it got to the point of that. That's why there's no difference in people having the ability to attend. And that's the reason for making the motion.
Okay.
And the reason that I made the substitute motion was the very same thing, but I look at it different. I believe that the citizens of Pitt County should have the opportunity, those who have a job, to take and to come to the meetings. And the personnel that comes to these meetings, they are head knockers, so they are I'm going to get paid extra money anyway, and which I think is good. But anyway, it gives the citizens of Pitt County the opportunity, if they want to come, they got no excuse. If they want to come, they can come to those meetings and participate.
Okay,
I
Mr.
hope they
Owens?
don't feel like Mr. James does about it, but it does no good to go if they use that rationale.
I hope
Okay,
they don't.
thank you.
I hope you're exactly
Anyone
right.
else have a comment? Okay, then it's procedural for us to vote on the substitute motion first, which is to leave it the same and to affirm the rules and procedures as they are.
Can that be with the proposed amendments that were by staff? Okay.
It's a tie, is that correct?
That's correct. So it does not pass.
So it does not pass.
You'll
Okay.
need well, yes, you'll need 5 votes to
Right.
pass, and because Mr. Hinman was excused, his vote's not counted.
Right. So we will move on to the first motion, which was to move to affirm, correct?
Correct.
The rules and procedures with the change of no night meetings.
Correct.
Okay, any comments? Okay, let's
Wait a
vote.
minute, I'm
Excuse me.
confused now. I thought we just voted on the substitute motion, which was to confirm the plan as is presented in this book. That's what we just voted on.
That's right.
And that's a night.
And now we're going to vote on taking the meeting out and having them both in the morning.
Right,
Okay, fine. Thank you.
This is having both in the morning.
right.
Yeah.
The original motion.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's vote, please.
And that doesn't pass either.
Do I?
Madam
does
Chairman,
not-
I'd recommend we put this on the next agenda when we have Mr. Hammond here. That way then you could,
Okay.
because right now, I guess the way it states right now, then the rules of procedure as they're written today stand. Is that?
Yes.
The rules of procedure before we came here today are the same rules that
Okay.
are here today. There was no motion to effect a change to your current rules.
Okay, so we'll put this back on the agenda to discuss when our next, our commissioner who's absent is here.
I don't understand this that you're doing. It didn't pass.
Right, it did
We
not.
shouldn't have took the second vote. Well, we could have, but I mean, it did the way it was supposed to do. It was supposed to be done, so it did not pass. So you got nothing there, if you want to get right down to it, if you follow parliamentary procedure.
Okay, but if it wants to be put back
But if
on
you want
the
to put it back,
agenda,
as the
then
manager
we can
said,
do
you may do
that.
so.
Right, but we
But
followed,
we're going to be making something
we
hard.
followed procedure. Do you need to be excused, Mr. McLaughlin?
Yeah, I
Mayor?
just wanted to get the ruling, the clarification of that from our attorney. What is your take on what Mr. James just said?
I think what he said is consistent with what we've just done. There was a motion and a substitute motion. The substitute motion failed because it did not receive 5 votes. We then ruled on the original motion. That also failed because with the same vote, there were not 5 votes for it to carry. So there was no action taken as it relates to your rules of procedure today. Nothing prevents that issue from coming back to this board at a later meeting if this board decides to hear it at a later meeting. But there was no successful motion today.
Okay.
But
So-
it means
Then we-
it stays as it is what it is.
Right, exactly.
Yes,
That's
right.
what we had said. So we'll move on to our first item for decision. Melanie Bryant, a policy for, excuse me?
Yes.
Yes.
We did. Okay,
Mhm.
sorry.
Thank you. The adoption of the whistleblower policy.
Yes, this proposed policy, which we have titled the whistleblower policy, would be a portal for folks to anonymously report instances of fraud, abuse, whether it's misuse of equipment to misuse of funds, and it sets up the protocol for where the files, or where the claims are filed, what the process would be for investigating them. This is a trend we're seeing across the state. We started researching it a year ago when Brian Starnes, who was here earlier, said, this is what I'm seeing with some of my other clients. We will have a portal on the internet for internet reporting, as well as there's a written process for sending it. It would flow through the county attorney in conjunction with consultation with the manager. And we would just recommend that you consider this policy and allowing us to roll it out. Effective immediately, but it probably won't show up on our webpage until the first of the calendar year.
Okay, Mr. Garris and then Mr.
I
McLaughlin.
make a motion, we approve the policy.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Owens?
Go ahead, Gene.
I want to say something, and this has bothered me for years. In the tax office, you weren't here, Mr. Manager, but
Neither was
an
I.
employee came to me and pertaining to investment, and I went to the manager, and this person that reported it was just about fired. As a matter of fact, they even moved them.
This actually puts protections in place for the person who blows the
So it's
whistle
going
as
to
well.
protect that individual that does that.
Yes,
I
sir.
want, make sure you do that.
Yes, sir. It
It's in
speaks to no retaliation.
Yeah, because I mean, even though she did it and she was right, she was, I mean, they, well, I won't
Mr.
do that.
James,
That's-
technically, the way this is, the opportunity now is they can do this anonymously. They don't even have to say. So it could be somebody within the
Well-
department,
well,
or they
that's
can do
what I
it
did.
and sign their name to it, either
I
way.
did that.
And, you know, we've had instances of different things over time, and sometimes it gets reported to me, sometimes it gets reported to the manager, sometimes it's to a commissioner. This just lays out a process so that we're treating them all through the same set of steps.
Okay, is there a motion to? You did, we've already done that and seconded. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Owens, I'm sorry, I did have you down.
I'm aware of what Gene said took place back some time back. But my philosophy on that, with the person that gave that person a hard time ought to have been the one that was fired. I think when Scott or Melanie or any of the staff hire other people, you hire people that come in and do a good job and to perform and abide by the laws. This fraud, whatever, is a violation of the law. Anybody that knows it should report it and ought to report it. If they don't, then that's when they ought to be fired. But I really have a problem with someone being able to make an accusation and not letting you know who it is making the accusation. That's just my personal problem.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's vote. Okay, our attorney is up for the Greenville Utilities Commission easement.
Yes, Phil Dixon, the attorney for Greenville Utilities Commission, contacted me and requested that this board consider and approve an easement for water lines that will cross through the Pitt Greenville Airport property. This has already been considered by the Pitt Greenville Airport Board, and they have approved it by motion, and that resolution is in your packet for your review. This is a sewer line, I'm sorry if I said a water line, a sewer line that will run from the Bees Barbecue Pump Station along the river to connect in with existing sanitary sewer lines that will go to the Mumford Road plant. And in order for this to happen and this West Side project to be completed, this easement will need to be executed by both the county and the city. And so we're asking, on behalf of Greenville Utilities Commission, that you execute the easement today, and I recommend that you do so.
I so move, Mr.
Okay, we have and a second, okay. Any discussion? Okay, if we'll vote. Oops.
You'll try it again.
Try it again, Gene.
Okay, that passes. Next, we have a resolution supporting online business listing for Ms. Booker from the tax office.
Good morning.
Morning.
Online business personal property listings would allow the county to receive and grant extensions electronically. These services would be provided to the county at no cost. The only cost to this service would be to the taxpayer, which during the month of January would be $4.95, and after the month of January, it would be $14.95 if they so choose to use the electronic listing service.
Okay.
I'd like to motion to approve this.
Second.
Okay, all right, any discussion? Okay, we'll vote.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And next, Florida Hardy. Pitt County Alcohol and Drug-Free Workplace Policy.
Good morning.
Morning.
What we're asking for in this policy is an update to the policy. Today, to date, we're already doing pre-employment drug screenings, and we're doing reasonable cause of suspicion screening, and we'd like to add another segment to that policy that will allow us to do random testing for the health and safety related positions in the county. And the other piece that we'd also like for you to do with our PATS policy, Pitt Area Transit Substance Abuse Policy, anytime she has changes to her policy, it requires board, the governing body approval. And we'd like for the changes for the random testing to be effective January 1st of 2012.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Whoops. Did we get it? Okay. Next, our manager with our board meeting calendar and budget calendar for 2012-13. I think we've all had a chance to look at it.
Page 108, it's the same as the prior year, except for in the month of, I believe it was, we changed 1 month.
I approve it. I'll make a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. And next, the appointment to the local Firemen's Relief Fund Board.
Move we appoint Joseph Hilliard as recommended.
Second.
Fire there.
Okay. Let's vote. And next are reappointments to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council.
On your last vote, we need to complete. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve those recommendations on the juvenile crime prevention.
Second.
Okay.
Madam
and-
Chairman, just when there is
Okay.
an exception on those, some of those, just wanted to point that out to the policy.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Thank you, Doug. That brings us to the end, except for commissioners' comments, and we'll start with Mr. Owens.
Only comment I got, Madam Chair, is this, that we spent considerable time this morning talking about two reports that have been presented to us. The land comprehension, which was a revisit and additional to it, also the overall annual financial report. There's a lot of material in these two documents. If someone will just take the time to read and to review it, it's very interesting, and it's very informative, and it puts us in a posture to be very well informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James?
No comment.
Mr. McGlaughlin?
None.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Garris?
No comment.
Mr. Johnson?
Just briefly, Madam Chairman, I continue to attend the school board meetings, and I believe that the school board and the superintendent and her staff do an excellent job for the students of Pitt County. Thank you.
Mr. Webb?
No comments.
Then I'll entertain a motion for
So
adjournment.
moved.
Second.
Let's vote and depart.